everyone, it's CreepyBeanie and I like talking about creepy stuff, and today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite horror movies for your next movie night. But before we get into that, I hear a fly in here. Please get it. I hate the way they buzz. I hate the way they buzz. Hold on, y'all. I gotta get this fly out of here. I blame SpongeBob for like the way I feel about flies. Like that episode where they had to watch like Wormy or something, and like Wormy turned into a butterfly, and they would do that like close up of the butterfly. Oh my god, like the sound of it. Oh my goodness. I'm convinced that's why I don't like the sound of anything buzzing. I don't know. I think I hit it, but my cat is still over there, like, so I got my door open so the fly can get out of here. Like, you got to go. Okay. You keep looking up. Like, do you see it? My cat is over there like, you are mine. Y'all see my eyes wandering. I'm just wondering where that fly is, because if it lands on my shoulder and starts buzzing, I just might pass out. Alright, before we get into today's video, first I gotta talk about my last video.
Jesus Christ.
I did not think the algorithm was going to be algorithming and I was going to be on some of y'all's homepage. It's funny because I made that video like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Editing that video feels like it took me so long. I tried to post once a week, but I was like 2 weeks behind, and I remember being so overwhelmed because I was like,
bro, I just want to get this out.
Like, I just want to like finish. And oh my goodness, excuse me. At one point, I was like, you know what? I'm not posting it. I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing myself talk. I'm tired. But then, like, I was like, no. I'm gonna put it out. I just was like, I'm gonna edit about 10 minutes a day, because I had already edited like a chunk of it, and I just needed like a little bit more to be. What was that? Was that fly? Please. I knew it was gonna taunt me, and knows I don't like hearing it buzz in my ear. Where is it? You're looking around. You see it. You see it, bro. I will give you 1,000 treats right now if you get this fly. Do you see it?
No.
You obviously see it. You see it. Please, there's nothing but space and opportunity for you to get out. Like, I don't understand flies' purpose. Like, your purpose is to taunt me. No, like, I know I probably looked crazy just now.
What was that?
The fly literally was like on my Funko Pops, but it flew by and it made me think I was going crazy. And then as soon as I turned, like, fly.
Hello?
Buzzed in my ear. Get it! Where'd it go? Oh my god, I just saw it, but I lost it. Get it! It went right back to the window. Oh, I see a shadow. You are mine. Yeah!
We did it! Oh my god, we did it!
Let's go! Yeah! Alright, let me just grab this and then we can officially start. Goodness, how many times I gotta get up? I'm gonna just take one for the team and pick it up. Ooh, I hate touching bugs. Let's go, people. Let's go. I'm keeping all that in the video because, like, y'all don't understand how much flies buzzing in my ear is so triggering. I still blame SpongeBob. But like I was saying, I only needed to edit a little bit of that video and I just was getting overwhelmed. I didn't want to post it anymore. When I finally got it done, I was like, cross that off my checklist. And like, I wasn't really like expecting, like when I started this channel, I was like, all right, you know, I just want like a little community of people who we could talk about horror and like, you know, we all be respectable and blah 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 blah. And I've even been trying to get over like my fear of gaming, which I did play Fears to Fathom. But even on some of those videos, like I got like a couple of views. I was just like happy with that. And I remember thinking, oh, this video ain't gonna get, this is gonna get a couple views, you know, not great.
But wait, there's more.
The first day or the second day, I think it hit like 200 views. And I was doing the Omarion joint like that. And then I was like, okay, you know, I can dig it. It was a couple people commenting. Then I saw 1K views like 3 days later, and I was like, people are perceiving me. People, they're watching me. They're listening to me be hyper fixated on like this topic. I don't know like what is going on, like what is happening. I just feel very like overwhelmed and like grateful. I had like 2 anxiety attacks, but I'm fine now. I had to tell my anxiety, yo, I need you to relax, okay? I don't have time for you to be acting up, okay? Like, relax. Thanks to everyone who watched that video, who commented, to all the new subscribers. Hey y'all, I am just excited to just talk about horror to a bunch of people who also have that in common with me. It's just something that what is my computer like snapping for? It's just something I love talking about, and I'm just happy y'all are here to talk about it with me. Anyone out there who's trying to do content, post that video. You know, if I'm over here getting through it with my little anxiety, you can do it too. With that being said, and the fly finally out of the room, y'all had to see this fly. That fly was like, it was the size of this. Today I'm talking about my favorite horror movies for your next movie night. Anyone has a favorite horror movie, you could comment down below, because I need something new to watch. And I'm not biased, I'll watch just about anything. So the first movie is so nostalgic to me. Like, I don't remember a lot from my childhood because like I was just emotionally neglected and my dad was absent, so I feel like I just dissociated a lot. So I just don't remember anything before like 13 or 14 years old. But I do remember why did I just trauma dump on y'all like that? I do remember watching Jeepers Creepers for the first time. This movie, and I hate that the director is a scumbag, because this movie is just like my life for real. It probably was like the first introduction to horror for me, and I feel like anyone who really loves horror, that first movie to traumatize you as a kid is probably like a staple in like your like watch list, I guess you could say. And I'll never forget, oh my god, 2001. So how old was I? 2000. Ain't no way I watched that at 3 years old. Ain't no way my mom let me watch this at 3. Mom, did you let me watch this at 3? A cousin of mine was staying the night, and I think her mom ended up staying. So it was me, my cousin, my mom, and then her mom. And the way my mom's house is, like, when you first walk in, you can see there's no walls that's like separating anything until you get to the kitchen. So it's like living room, dining room, and then, you know, the kitchen is actually like separated from the rest of the house. Like, you're like, oh, okay, that's the kitchen. When you walk in straight, you see the kitchen, and there's a window. And oh my god, at night, that window used to scare me. And it wasn't even until my mom didn't have drapes on it, so it wasn't even until I watched Night Stalker. Oh my gosh, have y'all watched that on Netflix? Traumatizing. And I was like, yeah, you gotta get some drapes on this window. But growing up, it wasn't any on them, and the TV was turned facing the kitchen. So like, you're watching TV and your back is behind that window in the distance. I used to think Jeepers Creepers was going to come up behind me and like put me in like the most severe headlock Like, I mean, I used to think he was gonna do, like, I don't know what I thought his initiative was, but I was like, he's gonna get me next. And then we also, like, basement door is like, you can't see the basement door until you actually walk into the kitchen. So I used to think he was gonna come up them basement stairs, open that basement door, and get out, run towards me, put me in that headlock. Man, yo, it's so crazy how, like, your brain is when you're young. You just be thinking, like, the most insane things. So the way I kind of want to navigate it, we could just talk about, like, when it was released, who directed it. I love learning about, like, the box office and, like, the budget and all of that, so I'm gonna throw that in there. And then I'll talk about the synopsis and just why I would recommend that you watch it. I just be giving out information that I be wanting to know when people recommend me stuff, so I just want to do that for you. Jeepers Creepers, oh my god, it was released in 2001 and it was directed by Victor Salva. Again, don't you just you can't stand when something you love as an art really means a lot to you and then you find out, like, the creator is just on something wild. I didn't even know about Victor and what he did until maybe, like, less than 3 years ago, so, like, I was super late, but so disappointing. The budget for Jeepers Creepers was $10 million and it boxed office for $59.4 million. That is so crazy to me. Man, if you never saw Jeepers Creepers, how I wish to be you and experience that movie for the first time again. Jeepers Creepers is basically about these two siblings. You have Trish and Derry. Trish is played by Gina Phillips and Derry is played by the man I used to have the biggest crush on, Justin Long. Ugh, Justin, I loved you and I still do. And they're returning home for spring break, and then they encounter a violent driver who, after passing by them, they soon encounter him again, catching him throwing dead bodies into this, like, large pipe that goes into, like, this old church. And after that, it's kind of like a little cat and mouse game. Man, I love this movie. I don't think y'all get it. So first of all, like, why the cover art for me is always going to be so simple yet effective. I feel like you take the title off of it, most people might already know what that movie is, and it's also like you see it, you're like, okay, well, what is that? Because you don't see Jeepers Creepers entirely until, like, that scene, I think, when they go to that old lady's house with all the cats. Like, that's when you, like, see his face. So you're kind of looking at the cover art like, okay, well, what the heck is that thing? It's just, I feel like today a lot of horror movies put, like, anyone who's, like, starring in the movie on the cover, so it's just like a face. You probably can't see, like, behind me, but, like, I have, like, a whole wall full of, like, Nightmare on Elm Street movie posters, and, like, I miss when movie posters has some sort of artistic value to it. Another thing I really love about it was the brother and sister relationship. I always, like, say I feel like I'm becoming a prude when it comes to horror movies, because I just get so exhausted by everything, like, being sexualized. It's, like, so predictable. It's like, okay, we got another girl about to take her shirt off, we got another guy who's about to take his shirt off, he's gonna be ripped. Like, not everybody look like that. It's just like, it's so exhausting. I feel like a lot of, like, the earlier, like, horror movies, especially, like, the slashers, always, like, had something like that in it, so I feel like I got exhausted by that. So now when I see, like, a romantic couple, I'm expecting it to be something of that nature in it, and a lot of the times it don't got nothing to do with the plot, and I'm just like, do we need that in there? Like, come on now. And I feel like people start doing it for the male gaze, and it's just like, it's 2024. Like, if you need that in the movie for the, like, I just spit. If you need that in the movie to get views, like, it's like, come on now, come on now. As I've gotten older and rewatched Jeepers Creepers, I really appreciate the brother and sister dynamic, and I feel like it's just something I can, like, really relate to more, because I feel like ultimately you really watch these movies and really enjoy them when you can relate to a character. So it's like I really can relate to them. I'm the middle child of 5, so like, whew, every time I watch it now, why is like, come on now, I don't got time for demons. Every time I watch it now, I'm like, and I get to that scene at the end, I'll be like, yo, if somebody had one of my siblings, this freaking entity, whatever this thing is, if he had my sibling, yo, woo, we gonna get into that, but I don't want to get too far into the scenes just yet. I just want to finish talking about like the brother-sister dynamic. Just like, it kind of reminds me of the Evil Dead remake too, because like it was a brother who was trying to help his sister get clean, and it was a bunch of friends, and I just like enjoy that more than seeing like a romantic couple, because I feel like it's gonna be cliche, I feel like. So that's just me, but I always enjoy a sibling dynamic in a horror movie. Also, it's literally Derry, Trish, and the Creeper, and then some other characters. I feel like this is also easy to digest for like, if I was to recommend this to someone who kind of doesn't want to be overwhelmed with a bunch of characters, I feel like this is also a great movie to recommend. The main people you see like the whole time is the Creeper, Trish, Derry, and then we kind of see that psychic lady like on and off the screen till we get to the end and she's like on screen. So I feel like this is also just easy to digest because there's not a lot of characters. Another reason I like it, that soundtrack, that Jeepers, let's get those beepers. And then like he's tearing up the cops in the background. Oh my god. They don't make it like this no more. They don't make it like this no more. Now, let's get into like the nitty gritty stuff. The build up to seeing the Creeper is so good because the whole time we just see this thing with like, well, the first time I watched it, I mean, I was young, but I wasn't expecting it to be that, you know, like I was like, oh, it's some guy with a brimmed hat on and a dusty jacket and he's just being crazy. When you finally get to that part when he was holding that old lady after he done bodied her and he like moves her to the side and you see his face.
What the hell is even that?
And you can see the horror on Trish and Derry's face, yo. That was so good. You do start to believe that it's something not human when we see the part where he was holding like the cop's head and he ends up like ripping his tongue out all crazy. That's where you're like, okay, like what the heck is this thing? Because from that, like anything before that, I don't think we necessarily know like who this person is. I just feel like, even I wrote here, like the Creeper himself is scary. Anything that can get a whiff of that scent and just follow you no matter where you go, he's gonna find you. At least you might be able to outrun Jason and all of them. You might be able to outrun them, but the Creeper is flying around getting a whiff of that scent and he knows where you at. I watched a movie not too long ago called Siren, which if you are familiar with the VHS franchise, you know, the found footage drawing. The first movie, that first segment is called Amateur Night, and Siren was the first spin-off movie, and it's kind of like a little play on Amateur Night because you get to see like the succubus that was like dogging them, which go watch VHS and go watch that first segment. That is my favorite segment in that movie. She kind of had those same like powers where she got a whiff of that guy and like she was not letting up until she got a hold of him. For me, like that, I would not want to be in that situation. Also, like Justin Long's acting, he is the spooky king. He was in Drag Me to Hell. He was in, what was that movie? Tusk, I think it's called. He did this. He was in Barbarian. I think a lot of you should know that I am the biggest Barbarian hater. I made a video called Horror Movies I'll Never Watch Again. That was one of the movies. Justin Long in this movie, his performance just leaves me speechless every single time. He really knew how to sell anxiety and fear. Once he comes up from that old church and he's completely out of it, even in the scene where he's in the diner and he's trying to explain to the police like what he saw and he's like freaking out, like he had me scared. I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm sitting in the diner with you right now. Oh my gosh, this is... You know, you just gotta take a moment because you start remembering everything about the movie. Like, Justin Long, like, was just so good. Like, his scream at the end of the movie. Ooh. I was just like... He got me sold. Like, so you can imagine me being like a youngin' watching this and being like, I'm scared to close my eyes. Also feel like what made this movie even scarier for me, especially watching it at a young age, I feel like we always believe that the MCs are gonna have a good ending. Like, you're like, no matter what, we're gonna get a good ending. It's okay, they're in a little situation right now. They're gonna get a good ending. Like, it ain't going to end with the MCs getting hurt. The ending for this movie made me so sad. When Trish, first of all, like I said, you start to think like the MCs are going to survive. You're like, there's no way. It's the same way like with A Quiet Place. When the kid had that airplane and everybody turn around like, what in the world is you doing with this plane making all this noise? And you see, I always want to call him Jim. I love The Office. You see him running up to the kid and you see this like creature thing running and you're like, oh my God, there's no way they're gonna like have the kid get bodied. Like, they're not gonna do that. So that's like kind of how I felt in this situation, because when you first see the creeper snatch Derry up and he's holding him and like Trish is like, yo, take me. You're not taking my brother. Take me, yo. Take me. And the older I get and the more I watch that scene, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big crybaby. So like I get a little teary-eyed when I watch that because I'm like, yo, I can't imagine being in this situation and someone got my sibling choked up. And when he spread his wings to turn around and fly off with Derry, and you see Trish, like her face as she's watching him, the way her eyes were, like, you can see just like the complete utter like did that just happen, like on her face. Even the next morning, it seems like she's still kind of like dissociated, like she's just like, what? And Derry is like a great character. He's like so likable, and I just feel like he really gave the vibe of just like this sweetheart. So like when you see his ending and you're like, oh my God, he did not deserve that, it's just like,
I've had it officially.
I remember feeling heavy as a kid and like watching that ending, because like you're not used to seeing people get a bad ending. The next movie, The Exorcist.
Yes.
1973. If this gnat don't get away from me, you're gonna be next on my hit list. Hold on, let me make sure it's 1973, because I just found out when I was getting ready to do this video that there is a novel, so I got that on my wish list because I'm gonna read that. Oh yeah, 1973. Okay, directed by William. Is it Friedkin? I always forget how to. It's spelled Friedkin. So Friedkin. This budget was $12 million and it boxed office at $441 million. That is insane to me. So we follow Chris McNeil, who is played by Ellen DeBerston. I hope I'm not chopping your name up. Who is starring in a film, and a friend of hers that is directing it. So Chris and her 12-year-old daughter Reagan, who's played by Linda Blair, rent a house. When Reagan progressively shows signs of an illness, eventually she becomes more violent and soon becomes possessed, claiming to be a demon. Man, how I wish to have been alive to see this opening day. A lot of horror people just know the controversy with The Exorcist. I recommend, if you have Shudder, that spooky like streaming service, they have something on there. It's called like the Cursed Films, and one of the films that they talked about in one of the episodes was The Exorcist. Highly recommend that suggest you watch that. Like, it's so, like, that scene where Reagan is like going back and forth, like she actually like injured herself really bad on that scene. The scene where the mom kind of like gets thrown across the room, like they like really like threw her, and I think they weren't supposed to throw her that hard, and like she ended up like getting hurt, I think. Like, it was just so much with that movie. And then they were saying like people were like throwing up, passing out. So you can only imagine, like, especially in the 70s, you hear about this movie that people are gonna go see and they're like in there passing out. You'd be like,
excuse me, I'm f***ing out of here right now.
One of my favorite stories my mom tells me, y'all, oh my gosh, I gotta tell y'all this story, was when she went to go see The Exorcist on like a, I think it was like a 10th anniversary sort of thing. And it was like a director's cut edition of the movie. And so she had seen the movie previously. So she went to go see like the director's cut or whatever. Well, she went to... Wait. Yeah, she's seen the movie before. She didn't see it in theaters though, because my mom was fresh out of the womb when this came out. But she's seen the movie before, so when she saw the director's cut, she noticed some of the differences. And one of the differences she said that freaked her out, and like everyone in the theater was like tweaking, was when Reagan comes down the stairs, yo, and she's like pitter-pattering, like... My mom was like,
The sound of her feet when she comes down the stairs just creeps me out.
man, I wish I could have seen, like, I don't know, a lot of I'm from Philly, so like a lot of movie theaters here typically don't do like that anniversary thing. Like, I know the Fashion District one does, but like that movie theater is expensive. Why is it almost $40 if I'm just paying for 2 adult tickets? And I still gotta eat. I just wish like more movie theaters did more of those, like, oh, you know, 15th anniversary or whatever for this movie, you could come see it on this day or whatever. Because I would love to see The Exorcist on the big screen. Like, I would be in there losing my mind. The Exorcist was really like a cultural shift. Like, it needed to happen. The Exorcist also set the standard for like movies that involve someone being possessed, because I feel like it could get like a little predictable when it comes to movies like that. Like, someone gets possessed and they gotta add, like, someone gotta come exorcise them and all that. There's only so much you could do with it. I feel like I watched a couple movies that I quite like. It was the one movie called, well, you got like Possession, which is the old John from back in the day. Then there was also another one with like a little girl, she ends up getting like this sort of like jewelry box thing. I haven't watched that in so long, and like I can't remember how she got possessed, but I think it has something to do with like the box. I thought that was pretty good. I actually went to the movie theaters to go see that when that came out. And then like I feel like Hereditary is one that kind of like touches a little bit on like possession. What else is out there? Oh yeah, and I probably would say like Paranormal Activity. I'm not really into like the whole like possession like vibe, because again, I feel like there's only so much you could do with it. I think it also comes down to like who's acting in it, because the way Linda was playing Reagan is like out of this world. So again, I feel like the cover art, simple yet effective. You could take out every single piece of text on that movie poster and you're gonna know what that movie is. It's so iconic. We have another bond that, you know, it's a mother-daughter bond. The mom, she acted one of my favorite scenes where you could just see like the deaths that moms will go to like protect their children, is the scene when she's like out with the priest and he's telling her like, hey, like, I gotta get permission from the church to be able to do this. Like, I don't think I could do it. Like, you gotta go see a psychiatrist. The mom is like, well, I went to the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist told me to come to you. Now you telling me to go back to the psychiatrist? She's like, why doesn't anybody want to help me? And like the desperation like in her voice is like she's just really willing. I was talking to my boyfriend about it. I said, man, if my kid was possessed,
Get out! Get out! Get the hell out of here!
and that's why I don't have kids. Just another like relationship point of view that I could just like cherish, and just how far are you willing to go to like save your child. And then you got the iconic Exorcist gore, oh my goodness, like, and the acting, like Reagan's performance, and I think I put in my notes, I think it's just like because she's just this young girl, I can't even imagine the amount of labor, all of that took for her to become Reagan. I feel like that probably was like a lot, not even for her to become Reagan, because at that point she was like full on like Pazuzu, and so like I feel like that probably was a lot of labor. Like that role probably was a lot. I even feel like for the mom it was a lot. They were like, they came to work, somebody was knocking on their door like, hey, you're about to get evicted, and they said,
we gotta do this role.
And they were acting like they was about to be homeless the next day. Just that progression of like Reagan becoming Pazuzu. When you finally see her face when she's like gone, I remember seeing that and being like, what makes it mind-blowing for me is like, can you imagine being in the 70s, watching that on a big screen and seeing that face?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I would have passed out too. The movie even messes with your mind a bit because there's certain scenes where like they flash this face of like Pazuzu. It's easy to miss if you were to go, let me look at my phone real quick, or if you were to go, you just like look away for a second, you might miss that. I think they do it at least like 3 or 4 times. So it's like you might look, oh my god, I can't even imagine seeing that in the movie theater. It's like that one scene where they're like performing an exorcism and like that face pops up and you're like, did you see that? I'm so speechless right now. Like when we get to the actual part where the priests come in and they're trying to perform this exorcism, I think that's just one of the best horror scenes I've ever laid my eyes on. We're getting to like what we've been waiting for. Like someone's finally gonna try to like get this demon out of her. We're at this point of the movie, so this is where you sit back and you're like locked in. I'm so jealous my mom got to see that in theaters. I can't even imagine like what that probably was like. I feel like again it's like kind of a good ending, kind of a bad ending, because like you have this priest who like was doing everything in his power. Like both of them got bodied. Yeah, both of them got bodied at the end, and it's just like no. But Reagan ends up like getting that demon out of her. This is why I remember a lot of people weren't too excited about The Exorcist Believer coming out, but I feel like that was great because it paid a little like homage to the first one, because the first one ends like Reagan and her mom is like, you know, we made it, we out of here. But then when you go watch The Exorcist Believer, you find out Reagan not even talking to her mom no more. So it's like,
I didn't see that coming.
and I think like what ends up happening was Reagan's mom had wrote a book on everything that had happened, and I guess Reagan wasn't really messing with like the publicity of it all, and like she ends up not talking to her mom no more. She went no contact. And man, I remember watching that. You get to the end of the movie, guess who shows up? Reagan, yo. I was like in my room screaming, cause like, man, I love a good homage to like the original. And she still looks great. She still looks the same. Like, how do you look the same after all these years? I just feel like horror movies today rely so much on like CGI, and like I feel like movies, like they'll play like a really loud sound and then it'll go quiet and then it's jump scare. And it's like, listen, I am a pro. You gotta do something better than that to scare me. And I feel like with The Exorcist, like they just were able to add those elements of horror without even needing to like set you up for no jump scare. Like it was just like unsettling and like just crazy to see Reagan go from this to that. Like it was just like, what? You know, I wonder if you can go visit those stairs from the movie. You know how like everybody, like after Joker came out and everybody was going to those stairs and like doing that dance, I wonder if you could go visit the stairs from The Exorcist. I don't know where those stairs are at actually. Let's see, my battery is like, all right girl, tick tock. I need to like get another battery. The next movie is, what do you think it is?
Why'd you get the kumquats out of your mouth and get to the point? Because I don't know what you're talking about.
It's gonna be Hellraiser. I love Hellraiser so much. I've watched all those movies. I personally love Hellraiser. I like Hellbound, which is the second one. Hellraiser Inferno, because Scott Derrickson did that. He worked on a Marvel movie. He did The Black Phone. He did a segment in VHS. He did Sinister. So I just loved him. I feel like he did great. The franchise of Hellraiser is like so long that it gets so exhausting to look at. When you get to Inferno, it's like a good piece of horror. You're like, finally. And then after that, it's like, yeah. I also love the remake. Listen, some of y'all can be a lot when it comes to like remakes. I'm always going to give a remake an opportunity because I'm always fascinated by what can y'all do now, like, because technology and everything is always going to progressively just get more advanced. So I'm always excited to see like, oh, like what can they possibly do with this. Like, I remember hearing that it was going to be a remake and I was like super stoked about it. I know some of y'all wasn't feeling it, but honestly, like, I think that you should watch the remake because if you read the book, the remake is actually more accurate when it comes to the Cenobites and like how they look, Pinhead, and how like they describe Pinhead to be very androgynous, like, and not really specifying whether they are male or female, and even from like the sound of their voice.
Enough is a myth.
Down to like the clothes, because like in Hellraiser, the ones that we know, they're wearing like black like leather clothing, but in the book they describe the clothing to be sewn onto their body. So the remake is much more accurate at depicting the Cenobites. And I also feel like it does a great job with going into a lot of detail about the laminate configuration, and like once you solve the puzzle, like these different like pleasures you can choose from, and like just the remake did a good job with like really like breaking all that down and just being more accurate. So I feel like that's why y'all gotta give them a chance. Like, y'all gotta give them a chance. Hellraiser, the first one came out in 1987. Hellbound came out in 1988, and the remake came out in 2022. Now, I'm not going to be talking about all of them. I am kind of going to be going back and forth between some of them, but I just wanted to tell y'all my favorite ones. So in case you want to make a little note, you want to have a little movie night, then you can watch those. And this was directed by the one and only Clive Barker, and the budget for the first movie was $1 million, and it boxed office for $14.6 million. And in the first movie, a puzzle box known as the laminate configuration is said to open the door to another realm. When Frank purchases the box, he solves the puzzle, unlocking the box potential. In the attic of his home, Frank is torn apart by hook chains. Pinhead resets the box and the room restores back to normal. After that, we then follow Frank's brother Larry, his wife Julia, and his daughter Kirsty as they move into the same home. Now, for me, again, it's always going to be the cover art with some of these older movies. You look at that and you're like,
Ooh, honey. Girl, security.
What is that? What am I getting myself into? And then Doug. Come on, Doug.
I love you.
Like, we love you. Jamie, who played Pinhead in the newer version, really did a great job with, like, holding herself up at that throne. Because I can't imagine what it must be like for people to be like,
well, Doug is always gonna be Pinhead, like you, like.
Some of y'all was being a little mean now. I feel like she did a good job with being Pinhead. What I really like about Hellraiser was just the mystery of the Cenobites. Like, what the heck, like, are y'all? And you don't see them too often in the film, which I feel like adds more excitement, because when they come on the screen, you're like, what are y'all gonna do next? Like, what are y'all doing? And it's funny because, oh my gosh, like Shudder has some good things on there. Shudder did this thing where they did a countdown of like spooky moments or horror moments or something like that, where every Wednesday in October they were dropping an episode and counting down like 100 scary movie moments. And they brought up Hellraiser, and they were saying what I always say: y'all think the Cenobites are the villains? The real villain is Julia. Like, Julia is the villain. First of all, Julia's having an affair with Larry's brother. She's sleeping with Frank.
It's true.
Once Frank gets like resurrected or all of that, Julia ends up bringing men into the attic to help Frank get himself back together. Also, when she first see Frank, and oh my god, this was a jump scare for me, when Frank is like crawling towards her. One thing that will get me is like a creepy crawly. And also, like, why I love Hellbound, the second movie, Julia gets a taste of her, I love a good continuation. She gets a taste of her own medicine in the second installment because she ends up getting bodied in the first one. I'm pretty sure they be going to like hell or something like that. In the second movie, she basically kind of gets resurrected again, and she goes through the same thing where now she has to consume bodies to get like her skin and everything back. That scene where all of her nerves are exposed, all of her muscles are exposed, and she's standing with that white background and the contrast between her and that, my god, I love that scene. It's just given like beauty is pain, because like that scene looks so beautiful because like she's just glistening. You can almost like feel the pain and the beauty of how that scene looks, because it's just like all her nerves and everything is exposed, and I know that hurt, but the way she looks against that white background is just great. And I'm just like, yo, they did this in the 80s. If I was like talking to someone about why I think they should watch this, it's definitely for like the plot, because like I'm not even like I'm not a gore person. I do not like watching stuff with gore, and Hellraiser can get really like gory. If I'm watching anything that has gore in it, just know I'm watching it because the plot is good. Because if it's gore in it and the plot is not given, I am not watching it. The later movies, like, I know a lot of people like the third movie because you see Pinhead much more, but I honestly like when it's more like mysterious. Like, we don't really see him that much. You're like, oh, what's your next move, player? Like, what you about to do? I can say I will let the third movie slide, but Bloodline was not good. It tries to give you a history lesson on the laminate configuration and like who made it and where it came from, but I think it's like, I'm gonna be honest, it's not captivating, so it's hard to sit there and watch it. Eventually one of those movies talks about Pinhead before he became Pinhead. Eventually the franchise just gets really tiring, so that's why I'm like, I personally like the first one, Hellbound, Inferno. One of the movies, is it called like Dreader or something like that? That's where we see Kirsty again. Those are some of my favorite horror movies. I made like a whole list for this, so expect me to make more videos talking about my favorite horror movies. Now that I have some people in here, I'm figuring out my schedule, because like I said, I try to aim to post once a week, and I'm not the best with social media. I am doing a little bit better with Twitter because like I also write fanfic, so I usually update people about that on there. I've also been trying to like update people about when I'm posting on there as well, because like I'm definitely not good with Instagram. I'm gonna try to be better with that. I'm aiming to try to do once a week. It really depends on what I'm talking about. If it's super detailed, it could take a while to edit, but again, I could just update y'all like what's going on. I can't believe that video, y'all still watching it, and I'm like,
Oh my gosh, you guys! I just want to thank y'all so much.
comment down below, let me know what some of your favorite horror movies are so I can watch some, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace. It is